Welcome. Be sure to like and subscribe for more scary stories, or I will come for you. I'd like to thank Lamia Alteris for joining the Curator's Disciples. Your viewership is very much appreciated. Without further ado, today's story, The Maim Maker, by the Curator. I don't expect anyone to believe this. Hell, if I heard it from someone else, I'd probably call bullshit too. But everything I'm about to tell you really happened. And no, I'm not writing this for sympathy or attention. I just want people to know the truth. My name's Nathan Rise. I used to be someone, I guess. Not famous or anything. Just the kind of kid you hear about once and go, wow, good for him. I was the kid from a dead-end neighborhood in Jersey who somehow got a full ride to MIT. I don't know if anyone reading this knows what that kind of thing means to a place like mine. I was the story mothers told their kids when they needed hope. My mom even had my acceptance letter laminated. It was just me and her growing up. My dad bailed before I was born, and my mom, Elena, worked 2 cleaning jobs to keep the lights on. She cleaned houses for rich families, like real rich. Gated community, chandelier in the bathroom type rich. She always came home exhausted, but smiling, like she was proud just to be able to provide. I wasn't a loud kid. I kept to myself, mostly. Spent my time taking apart radios and building weird gadgets from trash I found in alleyways. I was obsessed with robotics and electronics. While other kids played ball, I built a miniature robotic dog from an old toaster and RC car parts. I guess that was what made me stand out. I wasn't just smart. I was different. I went to a public high school that couldn't afford updated textbooks, but I still managed to enter and win every regional science and robotics competition I could get into. Teachers loved me. Classmates tolerated me. And when I got that full ride to MIT, man, for the first time in my life, I felt like the world was opening up. That was before everything changed. It happened on a Thursday. I remember the weather because it was raining the way it only does when something bad's about to happen. Thick, angry sheets of water. Thunder so close it made the ground hum. I had stayed late at school to help a classmate with calculus. I didn't mind. It felt good to give back. And I was floating on cloud 9 after getting my MIT confirmation email that morning. I had my hoodie on, backpack slung over one shoulder, headphones in. I was only 5 blocks from home. The intersection was always a little sketchy. No traffic light, no cameras, just a blinking yellow and a couple of faded crosswalk lines. I stepped into the street, looking both ways like I always do. Then I saw it. A black SUV. No headlights, no plates, just barreling toward me. There was no time to move. It hit me straight on. I remember the horrible crunching noise. Bones, probably. My ribs, my legs, my spine. I remember flying, hitting the pavement so hard I saw white. I remember looking up and seeing the driver's face through the rain-soaked windshield. He was in his 30s, maybe, wearing a charcoal suit. Dark hair, slicked back. His expression was frozen, wide eyes, open mouth. Then it changed. Like a switch flipped. He blinked, leaned forward, and hit the gas. He left me there. I don't remember much after that. Just the sound of someone screaming, the smell of blood and wet concrete, and the way the streetlights swam in and out of my vision like jellyfish in the ocean. When I woke up in the hospital, I couldn't feel my legs. They told me the damage to my spine was irreversible, that even with therapy, I'd never walk again. My scholarships were rescinded. They weren't set up for remote accommodation. MIT was off the table. So were my dreams. My mother tried so hard to stay strong, but I could see it breaking her. And me? I started dying from the inside out. I think something inside me cracked during those months after the accident. The police told us they had no leads. No cameras, no plates, no witnesses who could remember anything useful. They called it unresolved. But I saw the guy. I saw his damn face. I sketched it over and over again, filling notebooks with his dead-eyed stare. No one cared. I spent my days sitting in front of a computer screen, going numb from the waist down in more ways than one. My mom worked double shifts to cover my meds, my equipment, the stupid adult diapers. She'd come home to find me still staring at the same spot on the wall. The only thing that kept me going was my obsession. I started reading accident reports. I dove into forums where people talked about unsolved crimes and shady rich people. I read hundreds of posts a day. Eventually, I stumbled into a darker corner of the internet. Not Reddit or 4chan. Something else. It was like IRC, but way more paranoid. Invite only. Encrypted. People used it to vent, but some of them they had teeth. They weren't just talking about justice. They made it happen. Hitmen, hackers, data brokers. People who believed the system was broken and took matters into their own hands. I wasn't one of them, not at first, but I knew computers. I knew code. I started offering advice, little by little, teaching people how to cover their tracks, explaining how to use VPNs, how to spoof metadata. They welcomed me in. One day, someone posted a tutorial. It was simple, in theory. A how-to for building a small, non-lethal envelope bomb. Enough to blow off a couple fingers if someone opened it wrong. It fascinated me. I read the guide 10 times. Then I built one. It worked. I didn't want to kill anyone. That was never the plan. But to hurt someone, to take something from them. Like something had been taken from me, that idea settled into my brain like a parasite. I named my first design the barking dog. It whined before it popped. The first person I helped was a woman who said her ex was harassing her. She posted screenshots of the threats. Cops weren't doing shit. She joked about wanting him to lose a few fingers. So I offered. She thought I was kidding. She laughed it off. 2 weeks later, her ex-boyfriend opened a package. It blew his index and middle finger clean off. No one ever traced it. She never reported it. But someone posted photos. Grainy shots of blood on tile. A ruined hand. People started whispering. The maim maker. After the incident with the woman's ex, things changed. I didn't feel guilt. I expected I would. But instead there was a strange calm. Not joy. Not relief. Just silence. Like something inside me that had been screaming for months finally shut up. I remember sitting there in the dark, just staring at the photos someone posted. They weren't high res or anything. Looked like they were taken in a bathroom, but they showed enough. The guy's hand was turned into raw meat. Skin hanging off like shredded paper. Bone fragments scattered like teeth across the floor. I saved the image. I still have it. Sometimes I look at it when I'm having a bad day. Word started spreading. Not fast, not loud. This wasn't the kind of place where people bragged, but in whispers. In private channels, people started asking questions. Who made the hand shredder? Someone said it was wrapped in blue string. Did you see the sticker? Confidential, handle with care. That was me, my signature. I didn't plan on making more, but then another story popped up. A teenager, 16, had her life wrecked by some 60-year-old neighbor. Cops found insufficient evidence and let him walk. The girl's older brother came into the forum asking if anyone knew how to make the guy suffer. I messaged him, told him I had a solution. He didn't ask a single question. For that job, I made a different device. I called it the Cradle Snapper. It was disguised as a small box of cigars. Inside, I rigged a compression plate, primed with a short fuse coil and spring-loaded blades made from shaved-down scissors. Meant to activate when the lid opened. The blades weren't just sharp, they were serrated. I coated them in dirt to make sure infection set in. When the guy opened the box, the mechanism triggered. One blade went straight through the palm of his hand. Another went up through his wrist and severed the tendons. But the worst one, that one sliced upwards at an angle, straight into his crotch. The hospital photos leaked. I swear to God, I've never seen so much blood in one place that wasn't a war zone. The blade had torn through his testicle and nicked his femoral artery. He lived, barely, but was in intensive care for 3 weeks. Lost function in his hand, and from what I read, his dick too. That's when I knew I could do something. I didn't need to wait for cops. I didn't need to wait for justice. I was the justice. I built my storefront a week later. I called it Reckoner, a basic onion domain. Entry required a passkey you could only get by referral. It was simple. A form to fill out. Name of the target. Address, verified via smart map. Reason, preferred injury, hands, eyes, genitals, face, etc. Upload evidence, texts, photos, whatever. And crypto payment. I set it so I'd only ever take one request per week. That way it wouldn't spiral out of control. At least that's what I told myself. Business was good. I had a guy in Oklahoma who paid $3 grand to ruin his brother-in-law's hands. Claimed a guy molested his niece and was untouchable because of connections. I made him a variant called the Meat Rake. Looked like a book. When the guy opened it, 6 curved blades sprang out like a bear trap. Ripped all the tendons in his hand. Doctors had to amputate 2 fingers, and the rest healed stiff and twisted. I made a bomb that sprayed a cloud of hydrochloric vapor into someone's face. I made a letter bomb that deployed 1,000 sewing needles like a porcupine explosion. I made one that spun 2 rotating blades with the force of a blender, the face carver. That one was rough. The victim was a dentist, actually. There were allegations about abuse during appointments. I'm not going to say I believe everything people send me, but this guy, he'd been reported 5 times. Still had his license. The face carver was packed in a small cardboard box. Said free dental samples on the front. When he lifted the lid, the motor started. Spun so fast it sounded like a hairdryer. The blades hit his jaw, then his nose, then ripped upwards across his cheek and eye. He was blinded on one side, lost half his upper lip and most of his right ear. I read he tried to kill himself 2 days later. And me? I felt nothing. People started calling me the maim maker. I liked that. It sounded clean, professional. I never claimed to be a killer. I wasn't like those psychos in the deeper boards who talked about chopping people up or burning houses down. My work was targeted. I didn't kill. I punished. I uploaded tutorials too. Nothing basic. Only for people I trusted. I encrypted them with 128-bit keys and broke them into parts scattered across mirror servers. If you wanted to learn, you had to work for it. I used a deepfake voice for questions. My camera feed was glitched and filtered like some haunted broadcast. People thought I was ex-military, or a rogue NSA tech, or cartel. I let them think whatever they wanted. But the truth, I was just a kid in a wheelchair, still living in my mom's second bedroom, still unable to walk, still staring at my notebook full of sketches of his face. I didn't forget, not for 1 second. The man who hit me, that rich, cold bastard in the black SUV, I knew I'd find him someday. And I did. It took a year. I combed through insurance databases, learned to spoof access through third-party lookup sites. I dug into DMV records, scanned traffic cams, searched forums for any mentions of black SUVs involved in hit and runs. Eventually, I found a name, Owen Beckford. 34. Heir to Beckford Pharmaceuticals. Family worth over $400 million. Multiple sealed settlements related to vehicle negligence. His last one paid off the victim's family within 2 weeks. Same date as my accident. I got a photo. It was him. The face from the SUV. The eyes. The same vacant, rich indifference. I wanted to cry. I wanted to scream. But I just sat there and stared. Now I had a name. Once I confirmed it was him, Owen Beckford, the rest of the world just faded. I barely ate, barely spoke to my mom. I'd stare at his photo for hours, sometimes until my vision blurred and I'd start crying without even realizing it. I wasn't sad. I wasn't angry. I was just full. Like I had swallowed a star made of broken glass and it wanted out. I needed this. I needed to make him feel it. The loss, the violation, the permanent theft of everything he thought made him a person. He didn't deserve death. That would have been too fast, too clean. He deserved pain, something that would stick to him forever. That every time he looked in a mirror, he'd see me staring back. So I started building the Widowmaker. I went all in. This wasn't just a bomb. This was a statement, an artwork in violence. I needed it to be beautiful and precise and unforgettable. It came in a lacquered black display box, real wood, polished smooth like something from an upscale boutique. Inside, plush gray velvet and a gold-rimmed certificate that said, "For the man who already has everything." The actual payload was embedded underneath the false bottom, an electronically triggered shape charge packed with high-velocity copper fragments. Not shrapnel, cutting jets. The kind used in demolition but miniaturized. I used copper, so it would melt on impact and cauterize while still tearing through tissue like wet paper. I built directional nozzles so the blast would focus forward and upward, hitting him directly in the face and upper torso. Not enough to kill unless he was directly over it, but enough to ruin his life. The final piece. I dipped the inner lining in a mix of animal blood and sulfur, just enough to give it a sickly metallic smell when the box was opened. A subtle thing, psychological. The human brain reacts strongly to the scent of rot. I wanted him to hesitate just for a moment, right before it happened. I sent it on his birthday. I had his address by then. Beckford Estate, North Caldwell, New Jersey. Massive compound, private gate, concierge mailroom. It took a few tricks to spoof the delivery service, but eventually the package was accepted and marked "Received Personal Handoff." Then I waited. The news broke 36 hours later. Farmer Air, mutilated in bizarre birthday bombing. I knew it was him before they said it. I could tell by the words they didn't say. Unknown explosive device. No other casualties. Targeted. They were dancing around it because Owen's family had money, enough to hush most of the details. But not all of them. A nurse posted on a private trauma board. The post was deleted within an hour, but I was fast enough to scrape the cached version. She said the patient had no face left. Here's what happened. Owen opened the box himself. Thought it was from a luxury watch company. He was obsessed with status pieces. When he lifted the lid, the trigger engaged. 2 milliseconds later, the shaped charge fired a molten copper jet through his right cheekbone, shattering his orbital socket and exiting through the base of his skull. The upward blast seared his nose clean off and vaporized most of his lips. The heat was so intense that it fused fragments of the box lining into his gums. His left eye ruptured. The copper jet grazed his throat, cauterizing the skin as it tore muscle. He didn't die. He woke up in the ambulance, screaming through the holes where his mouth used to be. The nurse said his face looked like wet lasagna left in the sun. That was the phrase she used. The only reason he survived was because the copper cauterized the bleeding, and because one of his house staff had just finished a combat medic course in the reserves. Owen's current status: blind in one eye, deaf in one ear, complete facial paralysis on the right side, partial jaw reconstruction with metal bracing, skin grafts from thigh and back, and he requires facial debriding every 3 days to remove necrotic tissue. They say he won't talk again, not without a prosthetic palate. He eats through a tube. He cries blood from the damaged tear duct. I thought that would be it. My masterpiece. My swan song. But it wasn't even a week before I got a message that pulled me back in. The subject line just said, "He took her eyes." I read the message 4 times before I even blinked. It was from a woman named Dana. She didn't waste time with small talk. No introductions, just facts. Her little sister, Ava, was a nurse for a retired financier named Gregory Stahl. She worked in his mansion, out in the hills of eastern Pennsylvania. The kind of property with 15-foot hedges and a wrought iron gate with a gold S in the middle. Gregory had power, not the normal kind. He had money and legacy and dirt on everyone. Years back, he got swept up in some major investigation about trafficking in underground parties. Wealthy men, missing girls. But it all disappeared under layers of silence and NDAs. The kind of evil that wears a tie and smells like imported cologne. Ava started to get scared 3 months in, sent Dana videos. Shaky footage of Gregory standing too close, asking if she wanted to feel useful. One video was just Ava whispering in a bathroom stall, shaking so badly the camera was blurry. She was crying, saying he knows. He said, "I'll disappear." 2 weeks later, Ava disappeared. Police said she left a note. They called it a mental health crisis. Case closed, but Dana didn't buy it. A week later, Ava's body was found beneath the crawl space of the mansion during a pipe inspection. Naked, decomposed, teeth missing, eyes removed from their sockets. They ruled it a suicide, said the body could have been moved post-mortem, and there was no definitive evidence of foul play. She was 25. That's when Dana found me. She didn't ask for a hand to be ruined. or a face to be sliced. No, she wanted him to suffer, long, loud, and slow. She wanted the world to watch him melt. So I built the lantern. It started as an actual antique, found it in a collector's marketplace, an oil lantern from 1911. Polished brass, thick glass panels, heavy as hell. I gutted it. Inside, I engineered a dual-chamber payload. The inner core held a pressurized cylinder of adhesive thermite gel. Think napalm, but denser, stickier. The kind that clings to whatever it touches and doesn't stop burning until there's nothing left but bone. Wrapped around that core was a honeycomb of ceramic shards, barbed fish hooks, and ground aluminum powder, designed to burst outward like razor snow. I added ball bearings coated in epoxy laced with fecal bacteria and black mold. Infection insurance. I embedded a motion-sensitive trigger in the lantern's base, programmed to activate with a 5-second delay once the lantern was lifted from its velvet-lined gift box. Just long enough for confusion, maybe even enough for panic to set in before the inferno started. I labeled the box with a gold foil sticker. From one collector to another. May you always see the light. It was delivered via a third-party courier I'd hijacked digitally. Looked like a legit antique seller based in Prague. He signed for it personally. According to the nurse, who leaked the ER report, Stahl was found in his kitchen, fused to the ceramic floor tiles by the melted meat of his knees and shins. His face was gone. Witnesses, neighbors, staff, the delivery guy, said they heard screams that didn't sound human. The delivery guy said Stahl ran out of the front door while still on fire, smacking his own head against the pavement trying to put it out. By the time the paramedics arrived, they had to peel him off the concrete. The thermite had seared straight through his upper body. His chest was described as opened, like a boiled lobster. Ribs exposed. Bits of heart visible through charred skin. One of his ears had liquefied, and they found it stuck to the back of his neck. Both eyeballs were vaporized in the blast. His eyelids melted into his sockets. His lips had fused shut from the heat, but he tried to scream anyway, splitting the skin at the corners of his mouth into deep, bleeding cracks. One lung collapsed from smoke inhalation. The other was scorched, but somehow kept going. And through all that, he lived. They put him in a medically induced coma. Tubes in every orifice. They amputated both arms below the elbow because the skin had carbonized. Fingers curled into charcoal claws. Skin grafts. Useless. There wasn't enough living tissue left. And his vocal cords, they were just gone. Vapor. They say even if he wakes up, he'll never speak again. His estate hasn't issued a statement, but a lawyer posted online that Gregory Stahl's condition is permanent, palliative, and terminal in spirit, if not in body. Dana sent me a message the next day. He screamed for 23 minutes. The house staff filmed it on their phones. Thank you. I didn't write back. I just sat there, staring at the words, watching the blinking cursor like it was trying to breathe. That should have been the end, right? Like in a movie, credits roll, hero rides into the sunset. But real life doesn't work like that. Because now I'm not just Nathan anymore. I'm the maim maker. People talk about me like I'm a legend. I can't stop. Not really. I still get emails, requests, begging, screaming. People who want justice for things no one else sees. People like me. And sometimes, late at night, I build. My hands still work. My brain still burns. And the world still has so many monsters. But now they bleed. This is the Curator. I hope you've enjoyed today's scary story. Until next time.